The morning after Mom's funeral, my stepbrother blocked the doorway and said, "The house is sold. Pack your things." Something felt off. When his jacket slipped, a folder fell. Contracts with Mom's signature dated while she was unconscious. That's when I knew. He hadn't just lied about the house. He'd rewritten her final wishes, and maybe much more. I knew something was off the moment he refused to meet my eyes. He kept shifting from foot to foot, blocking the hallway like he owned it. And when he said the house was already sold, my stomach twisted. Mom had never mentioned selling anything. I stood there in the living room, her living room, still smelling like her lavender candles, and suddenly everything felt wrong. My stepbrother Dylan had always been irritated by my closeness with Mom, but this was different. This was calculated, cold. He waved a stapled packet at me, saying the buyer was coming next week. "You're not on the deed anyway. You're going to need to move fast," he said. His tone was rehearsed like he'd practiced it in the mirror. But when he left the room, a single sheet slipped from the packet. Signature. My mother's. Shaky. Too shaky. Dated 2 days before she passed, when she could barely speak, let alone sign legal documents. My pulse hammered. Something was wrong. Very wrong. I picked up the page, and for the first time since the funeral, grief turned into something sharper, suspicion. I didn't know it yet, but this was the first crack in the story he'd spent months building. And the next chapter would reveal just how deep his lies went. Dylan tried to snatch the paper from my hand, but I held it behind my back. His reaction was too quick, too desperate. He mumbled something about keeping the pages together, but his face had already given him away. He wasn't grieving. He wasn't stressed. He was scared. That night, while he was out with friends, I searched the kitchen drawers where Mom kept important papers. Everything was too neat, too organized. Not her style at all. Mom was sentimental. She kept every grocery receipt, every birthday card. But the folders were spotless, like someone had scrubbed away her life. And then I found it. A manila envelope labeled in Mom's handwriting. For Emma. Name. Inside nothing. Completely empty. Someone had opened it. Someone had removed something meant for me. My throat tightened. Dylan had been handling all the paperwork after Mom died. He said the lawyer didn't have anything for me. That always felt wrong, but now it felt intentional. The next morning, I asked him why Mom would leave me an empty envelope. He shrugged and said, "Maybe she changed her mind." But the tremor in his voice betrayed him. Something had been inside that envelope. And I was going to find out. I started digging. I called the lawyer's office pretending to be looking for misplaced documents. The assistant hesitated, then said there was a letter addressed to me, but Dylan had picked it up on my behalf. My breath caught. He'd taken Mom's final message to me. That night, I went through his room while he slept on the couch with the TV blaring. His backpack was shoved under the bed. Inside it were multiple printed copies of Mom's signature. Not documents, just signatures, like someone was practicing. My hands shook. I kept searching until I found a flash drive. I plugged it into the old laptop in my room and my heart nearly stopped. There were scanned versions of property forms, all with identical signatures placed at slightly different angles. Copy-paste forgery. He wasn't just lying, he was stealing. And the house was only part of it. I found notes referencing Mom's insurance and bank accounts. He'd been planning this long before she died. The more I saw, the more I realized that Dylan wasn't incompetent or impulsive. He was methodical, patient, dangerous, and I was the obstacle he needed to remove. But I wasn't backing down, not after what I found. Next, my memories of Mom became foggy around her last week. Partly grief, partly the chaos Dylan stirred up. He controlled who could visit, when we were allowed in her room, what medications she preferred. Things I never questioned. Until now. What else had he manipulated? I decided to confront him, but I needed proof first. So I called the hospital. Mom's nurse remembered me, But she also remembered Dylan. Specifically, she mentioned he insisted on being the sole decision-maker near the end, even waiving documents that supposedly granted him full authority. Documents I had never seen. When I asked for copies, she said the file didn't include anything with my mother's signature authorizing that. She even said Mom repeatedly asked for me, wondering why I hadn't visited. My chest cracked open. Dylan had kept me from her during her final days, and lied about it. Rage simmered hot in my veins. When I got home, I found him in the kitchen, acting like everything was normal. I asked him again about the house, the will, the letter. He smiled without meeting my eyes. "You're too emotional to handle this stuff." That's when I knew he wasn't going to stop lying, not until I forced the truth out. And the breaking point arrived sooner than I expected. The breaking point came at 2 a.m. I woke to the sound of someone whispering. When I crept down the hallway, I saw Dylan in the living room holding his phone to his ear, pacing aggressively. "She has no idea," he whispered. "Yeah, the fake contract is ready. She'll be out in 3 days max." My blood ran cold. Fake contract. 3 days. Me. I stayed hidden and listened. He mentioned a cash buyer he'd promised the house to. He also mentioned the insurance payout, how he'd shifted her beneficiaries before she passed. My stomach lurched. He ended the call with, "Emma's too soft. She'll fold." That was it. I wasn't soft. I wasn't folding. I stormed into the room and he froze, phone slipping from his hand. "Emma, what are you doing awake?" I held up my own phone, the recording app still running. "Getting everything I need," I said. His face twisted. "You don't know what you're doing." But I did. For the first time since Mom died, I finally understood just how far he'd gone. And now it was time to go even far. For the next 48 hours I moved in silence. I made copies of every forged file. I saved screenshots of his emails and texts. I met with a lawyer, Mom's real lawyer, and showed him everything I had. His eyes went wide when he saw the fake contracts. "This is serious fraud," he said. But I wanted serious. We created a plan. Step 1. Stop the sale before Dylan moved money around. Step 2. Present evidence to the family and the lawyer with Dylan present. Step 3. Trigger legal action the moment he denied anything. Step 4. Record everything. But I added my own step. Step 5. Make sure he heard the truth in Mom's own words. The lawyer managed to retrieve a copy of the letter Mom wrote for me. She had thanked me for caring for her, apologized for the pain I carried from childhood, and stated clearly, "The house belongs to Emma. She deserves security and stability." My hands shook as I read it. This was my weapon, and I was going to use it. The reveal was about to happen, and Dylan didn't see it coming. I invited Dylan to the lawyer's office under the pretense of talking about the sale. When he walked in and saw our aunt, 2 cousins, and the lawyer, he stiffened. "What is this?" he said. "A conversation," I replied. "A very overdue one." The lawyer started the meeting with the real will, Mom's actual signature, notarized months before she got sick. It left me the house, her savings, and her personal items. Dylan got a small trust. He went pale. "That's not real," he sputtered. Then I pressed play on the recording from his 2 a.m. phone call. His own voice filled the room. "The fake contract is ready." And Kara gasped. But I wasn't done. I pulled out Mom's letter and read it aloud. Dylan's face crumbled. At one point he whispered, "She didn't love you like that." But even he didn't believe his own words. The lawyer laid out the consequences. Fraud, forgery, attempted theft, obstruction. Dylan's mask finally shattered. He broke down, babbling excuses, blaming stress, blaming me, blaming Mom. No one bought it. Everything he'd built collapsed in minutes. And I felt Mom with me as he walked out in silence. The house is quiet now. Not empty but peaceful. I restored Mom's things to their places. I planted new lavender near the porch. I breathed again. Dylan avoided the family for months. Legal action moved forward, and the forged contracts were invalidated. The insurance company opened an investigation, and the hospital filed their own report after learning he'd restricted my visits. As for me, I finally read Mom's letter in full, alone in the room she wrote it in. Her words healed pieces of me I didn't know were broken. I don't hate Dylan, but I don't forgive him either. Some betrayals cut too deep to mend. But I'm not angry anymore. I'm done being afraid. I'm done being quiet. This house, her house, is mine now. And every time I light a lavender candle, I feel her beside me, telling me I did the right thing. I survived the truth. And I'm stronger for it.